All eyes are on UnitedHealthcare after a cold-blooded shooting in Midtown Manhattan yesterday. And that, in a nutshell, is the problem. It takes an act of violence in the Big Apple for people to look at the big fraud that was going on with the cold-blooded UnitedHealthcare. The scope and level of fraud at UnitedHealthcare makes Enron look like a bunch of frat boys playing Monopoly during spring break. I'm going to unpack that multi-level, multi-layered fraud in just a moment. But first, let's look at why UnitedHealthcare was under investigation by the U.S. Senate. According to the New York Times, last fall, the majority staff of a Senate panel released a scathing report of insurers' refusal to pay for care for older people who have suffered falls or strokes. And in that report, UnitedHealthcare in particular was cited for a surge in denials for what is called post-acute care. Under United's system of prior authorization, the report found, the denial rate for post-acute care increased to 22.7% in 2022 from 10.9% in 2020. And then here's a striking little coincidence. According to the Times, CEO Brian Thompson had been chief executive of the insurance division since 2021, overseeing a period of substantial profits. The division reported $281 billion in revenues last year. So in other words, Brian Thompson climbed the ladder of success at UnitedHealthcare by institutionalizing a rising rate of denial of coverage. So people did not get the coverage or medical care they needed, but at least UnitedHealthcare made a ton of money. Here is just one example of the millions of dollars that can be at stake in the denial of coverage of just one person.
He states that it's not medically necessary treatment.
That was an internal phone call between two UnitedHealthcare workers. They're laughing about denying someone's insurance claim. We're ProPublica, a nonprofit newsroom, and we investigated. The person they're laughing about is Chris McNaughton. He was in college when he was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, a chronic autoimmune disease. It took him a really long time to find meds that put his disease into remission. But when he finally did, United flagged Chris's case as a high-dollar account. Ultimately, United said it wouldn't pay for his medicine because it was not medically necessary.
When I started that treatment, I think I had literally failed every other ulcerative colitis medication. So it would almost seem that it was the very definition of medically necessary and that nothing else had worked.
When United turned down Chris's claim, his medical bills were running nearly $2 million a year. So Chris did something few people ever do. He sued. He was able to get his claim file and question United representatives under oath. He was shocked by what he learned, like that a United doctor had literally cut and pasted denial language from a nurse's notes.
That's under RN recommendation. I usually copy that and paste it if I agree.
That doctor said he's done over 10,000 denials for United, and he didn't usually look at the medical records, he just signed his name. Chris's records revealed another United doctor who actually agreed with Chris's physician was ignored. United had paid for that doctor's opinion, but when the company didn't like what it saw, it buried that report. Chris also got emails and audio recordings, like the one at the beginning of this video.
It's hard to feel that they're really worried about your safety when there are emails that are celebrating the fact that your treatment was denied.
In the end, Chris's medications were paid for by insurance. United said in a statement that the company's guiding concern was always his well-being.
So now, if you want to get at what a truly horrible person Brian Thompson was, then here is the real measuring stick. Denial of coverage is not even the real scandal here. It turns out that Brian Thompson and UnitedHealthcare were being investigated by the Biden Department of Justice for violating antitrust laws. And yeah, that's something that's going to go out the window once the Trump administration takes over. There will be no more antitrust. But Biden's Justice Department was committed to antitrust enforcement. And so they went after UnitedHealthcare and others. So completely separate from the Senate investigations into denial of care, the Justice Department was investigating UnitedHealthcare for breaking the law. And of course, when it comes to multi-billion-dollar corporations, the investigation itself led to more fraud. It turns out that UnitedHealthcare was being sued for not disclosing the investigation to its very own investors. They did not find out about the investigation until the media reported on it, and by then it was too late. Investors lost millions of dollars. And still, that's not the end of the story. Because what was CEO Brian Thompson doing while covering up the investigation to his own investors? That's right. He and others in corporate leadership were selling all their shares. So Brian Thompson made millions of dollars selling his corporate stock. So, yep, while other people are losing their money, Brian Thompson was actually making millions. But here's the thing. Brian Thompson is not just a bad apple. Go and Google the term Senate investigates health insurance companies. And do you know what's going to come up? Not UnitedHealthcare, but instead Steward Healthcare, and how their leadership team and investors made millions of dollars before bankrupting the company and leaving Massachusetts with empty hospitals and no one to provide care for certain communities. For-profit healthcare is fundamentally unable to conduct itself without committing fraud one way or the other. Yeah, which is why Medicare pays 2 cents on the dollar for administrative costs, while for-profit insurance companies pay 20 cents on the dollar. Right now, the New York Times is breaking the story that bullet casings discovered at the site of yesterday's shootings appear to have the words delay and deny etched on them. That is going to make it look like the shooter was a lone gunman bent on revenge against Brian Thompson and UnitedHealthcare. And that may very well be the case. But if you were a high-power investor with a complete lack of ethics and got screwed over by Brian Thompson